Do you ever wonder how to get good aim like this?
One enemy remaining.
But you just can't seem to figure it out? Well, I'm here to help you as somebody who started off video games having the worst aim in the world to somebody who's achieved decent aim over long hours and a lot of mistakes.
Sometimes I'll like go into creative fields and then go to click and that's not smart because all of them are so bad.
And this is my aim now.
Stairs. Season 3.
Spike down A. Got it. One enemy right there.
Yes, throughout this period, I put quite a lot of emphasis and work into my aim and mechanics, as you can see in these screenshots below. I think the first big mistake I ever made when hopping into aim trainers was I downloaded aim labs and I didn't really know like anything about aim trainers. So the first thing I did was just like do what everybody does and play grid shot for I think 100 hours straight. Ended up hitting 100k. And then I think after that I was like, wow, my aim really isn't getting any better. So I kind of started branching out, trying to like figure out why my aim wasn't getting better. Doing a lot of research and kind of just looking up a lot of videos online. And I think a good baseline to figure out whether what you're doing is good or bad is obviously like if your aim isn't improving, probably change something. Or if try to make sure the scenario kind of matches a situation or I guess target size that would be in like your normal game. Obviously grid shot won't really help you for Valorant because the heads are a lot smaller and they're not usually in like predictable patterns like this. I think grid shot usually just helps more for like speed clicking and target confirmation. So it's always fun to play and you can play for fun, but I don't think play for improvement. So obviously one of the big hurdles that people get into when aim training is, because it's such a new thing and compared to like video games, is how do I get all this information? It feels like there's so much and it's really hard to like understand all these concepts. Well, I think one of the big like helping points would be to just look up videos online. Viscos makes really good videos for improvement and kind of helps you get into the aim trainer. We also have Maddie OW, who is the #1 aimer, has a bunch of good tutorials. West Broder made a lot of good videos. All their links will be in the description, but those are just like a few, and I'm sure you can find way more. I think a big reason as to why a lot of the pros don't aim train is, first up, they go in without the information like I talked about before, and they oftentimes put maybe a week or two, or maybe even a month of just like not good practice, and they don't really know what their mistakes are. So they kind of don't get the maximum amount of benefits that they could be getting to see their aim improve. I think another reason is probably because they got good without it, and they see other people with good aim who just put a bunch of hours into games that got good without it, and so they think it's not necessary because they never had to do it.
DS, and it also relates to aim training here of when you really break down like how you're aiming, you're able to get much better at it because you're now conscious of how many things that you didn't know before. It's like the what is it, the Dunning-Kruger effect before, of like how when you get exposed to more of this stuff, especially from other players that are really good at their craft, you're like, wow, I actually didn't know, I didn't know that it could be that granular. And you realize how much more that you could learn and improve from things.
And it's really interesting, like you said, how unbelievably good the aim trainer players are at aiming. And a lot of people say, oh well, yeah, it's not aiming in the game, and yeah, obviously yes, that's true, but
Yeah.
but it's like you got to be able to differentiate here, and not just kind of like just lump it in wholesale and say, okay, well, it's not in the game, therefore it's not useful. Yes,
Yeah.
they're just very good at those specific skills. And
he obviously showed like a super high level of expertise, which is exactly.
And obviously, I don't know too much about the CS scene or how good he is like as a player, because my understanding is very limited. But from the stats page that you can see right there, it looks pretty good. And from some other statistics I saw that I couldn't find, a lot of his stats actually went up overall, and just like KD, etc., just after the aim training and the aim coaching. I think this is one of the biggest questions that I think every pro gets asked, or at least good aimers, is about sensitivity and what is like a perfect sensitivity or the best sensitivity. I was also on this rabbit hole for quite a while when I first started, especially in TAC FPS, not so much in Fortnite. Swapping my sens like every day or every game, even like sometimes during the game. And I think the best like explanation I can give is that sensitivity doesn't really matter. It kind of also depends on the game. There's a few factors. I think the biggest factor is comfortability. So just playing on whatever's comfortable. Something that kind of can accommodate for the size of your mouse pad also is a big deal. But also kind of just range. I think range is a big thing that's not talked about. You want to be playing inside your range, which kind of links to comfortability. And I think the last thing is what game you're playing also kind of should influence your sense to a certain extent. Like for Valorant, the targets move very slow, and the TTK is pretty low. So a lower sense that makes it easy to hit the micros would probably be best, but it's not needed, or like it's not required by any means. But as for a game like Overwatch or Fortnite, it would probably require around 46 cm, a more like higher in sense to where you can do these 360 movements because your targets will be flying and it's high TTK and all this other stuff. This is a big issue that I had, kind of mainly throughout my aim training journey, was always changing my grip, always trying to find the best grip, the best chair height. Maybe if I move my monitor slightly, I'll have better aim. And a lot of it's just like cope, to be honest. I think the biggest thing I learned was like a lot of aiming is just comfortability, and like how comfortable you are to make these motions happen. So obviously like your chair height and your desk height does matter to a certain extent. Just look up like an ergonomics video or a guide, follow the guide, adjust it slightly, figure out what feels good. And if you look at pros, they have all variations of grips, chair heights, everything, but a lot of it's just kind of what they're comfortable on. So figuring that out, stop caring about it, and kind of just work on the actual issues, within your aim. Like it could just be your tracking, or it could just be like, these small things, but trying to get rid of these factors and stop caring about them, because you'll never find something perfect. It doesn't exist. There's no perfect grip, and it won't really help you that much more. I'm going to play a clip of Maddie, who explains this way better than me.
Conversation with yourself even, and what does that look like if you should do it?
I get so many questions about grip and mouse grip and being a massive factor in your aim. I don't think that it is a massive factor at all, because what I often tell people that ask me that is I just say, okay, take your hand off your mouse and then put your hand back on, and like however you naturally put your hand back on the mouse and however like is the most comfortable way to hold the mouse, there it is. That's the grip that you should be using by default. Obviously there's like some like wrist health differences between like certain grips, but most of the time it's not going to impact you or your improvement in aim as much as people think that it is. And if anything, you can actually like shift around your grip as you're aiming, like on the fly. If something isn't feeling right, or like your hand is like entering like a weird angle or position, like just shift it around, pick up your mouse, put it back down. Like it's not, I don't think it's that important.
What is a big deal?
I like to say as a coach, what we call it is all the internal factors versus like external factors. Like we don't want to focus on the setup as much. We don't want to like focus on the things that are like, our peripherals. We want to focus on what's happening on screen, and we want to focus on our mental perception of what's happening on screen. We want to focus on reading abilities, like reading bot movements.
Now there are a few ways to go about this. And I would personally suggest either buying Kovacs or downloading Aimlabs. There's not really a big difference between either or. I think Kovacs just has a few more easy to find routines, and it's usually just more popular because it has better variety. It's also better for tracking. And Aimlabs is starting to get really good now with a bunch of benchmarks and a lot of like really good resources that you can use. So it's really up to you. I personally choose Kovacs just because I think the routines that I have there are a lot better and because I just personally enjoy it more. Either you can do that route and go through aim trainers, or you can do in-game training, which is a little bit harder to isolate and it's going to take you longer to get better aim if that's really what you want. So say in Valorant you have DM, you have range, TDM. In Fortnite it'd be like 200 pump maps, aim trainer maps. In Overwatch I'm pretty sure they have deathmatch and like widow only maps or certain like game modes for it. But in game, while it is valuable, and I think that you should try to get an equal amount of DM and aim training in, so you can focus on the in-game mechanics and the movement patterns. Let's talk about the aim trainer way first. So when you boot up into the aim trainer and you get all your settings down and kind of just like how you want to use it and all the themes and everything you want down, then you need to kind of figure out what you want to do as far as the training method. There's two major training methods, I guess you could say. One would be set routines, which would be you doing one routine every day for probably around, just like, for long term. You would just do like a 15-20 minute routine. The second way would be doing benchmarks and tracking your progress. I used to be heavy on routines and I would just do a lot of routines, but it never really stuck with me. I was never really good at just playing one routine every day and like kind of sitting there like that. So I would kind of swap over to the benchmark method, which I think was a lot better for me. And doing benchmarks and then doing routines to help push benchmark scores. So an example of benchmarks, they have the Aimlabs benchmarks, which I think are really good. I tried them. I think they're pretty fun, and I think that's a good place to start for kind of overall aim. So they'll work on every category you need. And then there is another benchmark that I used to do a lot when I was starting, was the Valorant benchmarks, which is kind of game specific, and I think those are also super good, and they challenge a lot of points that are just really good for Valorant that you're not going to get a lot out of the other tasks or playlists you find. So you can kind of start doing that on Aimlabs. On Kovacs, there's obviously the Voltaic benchmarks, which I highly suggest, and I started doing a lot more recently again. And I'm kind of just pushing every score to complete now. And if I struggle on a score for too long, then I'm going to go into the VDIM routines, which kind of isolate certain parts of technique or certain parts of a category, and you kind of build up on those. So right now I'm kind of just working on every part of my technique of overall aim and working on a lot of my weak links and not really specializing anymore, because I used to specialize a lot in static clicking and dynamic, and now I'm trying to become more well-rounded so that my aim overall will just be better. No matter which method you choose to train, whether it's doing a daily routine that you like or benchmarking, as long as you do it consistently, you can't just do it for an hour one day and then skip it the next 2 days and then do 3 hours one day and then skip it. It's not really going to help your aim. It's way better to just do it, if you can, like 15 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day. Just do it consistently and your aim is sure to improve. I know I didn't explain a lot of these topics to the most deepest of depths, but if you do have any questions, my Discord's in the description. You can add me and ask them to me myself, or you can go into the Voltaic Discord and they'll be more than happy to answer all your questions. They'll have a lot more resources, and anything you need to know will probably be there. My final piece of advice that not only goes for aim training, but it's kind of anything that you want to be really good at or the best at, is find like somebody, a friend, who also wants to be really good at that thing and kind of start a sort of rivalry. When I was getting really good at Fortnite, I had a rivalry with one of my friends, and we would constantly push each other to get better. Same goes with aim training and kind of just competitive games. Just having somebody who you can strive to be or strive to always stay better than, and they can strive to be better than you. You're always going to have that extra motivation to want to, just push yourself a little bit further than them. And I think it's a really good motivation to grind. I'm going to show some clips of my friends who I did the same thing with and give them a little shout out.
Hookah. One hookah, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice shot.
What the
God.
fuck?
Right, you could be.
He's just listening for noise. Nice. Nice to be alert.
Enemy remaining.
When?
No.
One. Six. One enemy remaining.
Oh my god! Fucking shaft. Such. What? This shaft like gold.
I still definitely.
80.
Nice, good trade.
Taking out smoke.
Perfect. Left awkwardly. Nice.
One rotating off A.
So the cheater got unbanned and summoned in my game. So the cheater got unbanned and he spawned in my game.